Divergent Mind, Thriving in a World That Wasn't Designed for You by Jenara Nerenberg offers an uplifting and insightful view into the world of neurodivergent individuals, especially women, whose minds work in wonderfully unique ways. This audiobook summary gently opens the door to understanding conditions like ADHD, autism, sensory processing sensitivity, and anxiety, not as problems, but as different ways of experiencing the world. Isn't it time we celebrated those differences? In this audiobook summary, Nerenberg shares her personal journey as well as stories of other women who discovered that their sensitivities and unique ways of thinking weren't flaws, but strengths. Many of these individuals had spent years feeling out of place, simply because the world around them was built with a more typical brain in mind. But what if being different is actually a gift? The audiobook summary highlights how our culture often overlooks women with neurodivergent traits, especially when they're quiet, creative, or sensitive. Could it be that society simply hasn't learned to recognize their brilliance yet? Rather than focusing on fixing anyone, this audiobook summary encourages self-acceptance, understanding, and the importance of creating environments where all kinds of minds can shine. Wouldn't that make the world a more compassionate and innovative place? By the end of this inspiring audiobook summary, listeners are left with a message of hope. There's nothing wrong with being different. In fact, those differences are what make you special. Are you ready to see your mind as powerful, not problematic? Then you're already on the path to thriving, just as you are. Celebrating the diversity of our brain's Divergent Mind, Thriving in a World That Wasn't Designed for You by Jenara Nerenberg is a powerful and heartfelt audiobook summary that opens our eyes to the beauty and strength of people whose brains work a little differently. It shines a gentle light on individuals, especially women, who may be neurodivergent, living with traits related to autism, ADHD, sensory sensitivity, or anxiety. Have you ever felt like you see the world a little differently than others do? This audiobook summary helps you realize that this isn't something to hide, it's something to understand and celebrate. The audiobook summary begins by explaining that many women go undiagnosed or misdiagnosed because their symptoms don't fit the traditional, often male-based, definitions of neurodivergence. For years, many women have struggled with feeling overwhelmed, misunderstood, or simply too sensitive. But what if those very traits were actually signs of unique strengths and talents? Jenara Nerenberg shares personal stories and research in this audiobook summary that gently invites listeners to explore a new way of thinking. She explains how many women mask their true selves in order to fit in, trying to appear normal while silently struggling. But what if being different isn't a weakness? What if it's a strength? Throughout the audiobook summary, there's a strong message of self-acceptance. Nerenberg encourages people to embrace their differences and to learn more about their brains without judgment. Wouldn't life feel better if we gave ourselves permission to be authentic? To trust our own ways of thinking and sensing the world? This audiobook summary also emphasizes the importance of changing the environment, rather than forcing people to change who they are. Instead of trying to fix neurodivergent people, Nerenberg asks, how can we fix our culture so that everyone feels seen, supported, and included? Another beautiful aspect of this audiobook summary is the call for community. Neurodivergent individuals often feel alone, but they're not. There are many people who feel deeply, think creatively, and experience the world in unique ways. By finding one another and sharing stories, there is comfort, strength, and even joy. Isn't it comforting to know you're not alone? The audiobook summary also touches on how workplaces, schools, and health systems can better support different types of brains. Wouldn't it be wonderful if sensitivity and creativity were just as valued as efficiency and speed? By recognizing different abilities, society can open the door to innovation and empathy. In the end, Divergent Mind is not just about recognizing neurodivergence, it's about seeing it as a gift. The audiobook summary gently reminds us that every brain has something special to offer. There is no single way to be successful, intelligent, or happy. Everyone's journey is different, and that's something to be proud of. This audiobook summary leaves listeners with a warm and hopeful message. Being different doesn't mean you're wrong, it might just mean you're ahead of your time. So why not celebrate the way your mind works? The world needs all kinds of thinkers, feelers, and dreamers. And maybe, just maybe, your unique brain is exactly what the world has been waiting for. Highly sensitive people. In the audiobook summary of Divergent Mind, Thriving in a World That Wasn't Designed for You, Jenara Nerenberg gives a gentle and uplifting voice to people who often feel different, especially those known as highly sensitive people, HSPs. Have you ever been told you're too sensitive? Do you notice small things others miss, feel deeply, or get overwhelmed in busy environments? If so, this audiobook summary might feel like a breath of fresh air. Highly sensitive people are not broken or weak, in fact, they are strong in quiet ways. This audiobook summary helps us understand that sensitivity is not a flaw. It is a natural trait found in many people, especially women, and it's connected to powerful gifts like empathy, intuition, creativity, and deep thinking. Jenara Nerenberg explains that the world often rewards loud voices, fast action, and thick skin. But what if the calm observer or the person who takes time to reflect is just as valuable? This audiobook summary reminds us that HSPs bring balance and wisdom to a world that sometimes moves too fast. Many HSPs struggle in workplaces or schools where they feel overwhelmed or misunderstood. This audiobook summary shares how bright lights, loud sounds, or emotional stress can be too much for sensitive individuals. But instead of trying to toughen up, Nerenberg invites HSPs to honor their needs. Wouldn't it be better if everyone could create a space that felt comfortable and nurturing? Through personal stories, science, and gentle encouragement, this audiobook summary shows that HSPs don't need to change who they are. Instead, they can thrive by setting healthy boundaries, finding quiet time, and working in ways that suit their natural energy. Isn't it freeing to know that sensitivity can be a strength? The audiobook summary also highlights how HSPs are often great listeners, thoughtful leaders, and compassionate friends. They may not always speak the loudest, but when they do, their words carry meaning and care. What would happen if we listened more to these thoughtful voices? Jenara Nerenberg also explains how HSPs are often misdiagnosed or misunderstood. Many are labeled as anxious or shy, but this audiobook summary helps clear the confusion. Sensitivity is not a disorder, it's a personality trait. Isn't that a beautiful shift in perspective? One of the most comforting parts of this audiobook summary is its message of belonging. HSPs are not alone. There are many people who feel the same way and are learning to celebrate their sensitivity instead of hiding it. There is strength in community, and finding others who understand you can make all the difference. In the end, this audiobook summary of Divergent Mind is a gentle reminder that being sensitive is not something to fix, it's something to embrace. The world needs HSPs for their insight, kindness, and depth. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we all started seeing sensitivity as a gift? So, if you've ever felt like the world wasn't built for you, this audiobook summary invites you to see yourself with kindness. Your sensitivity isn't a setback, it's a superpower. And when you honor who you truly are, you open the door to a more joyful and authentic life. Autism and its culture. In this audiobook summary of Divergent Mind, Thriving in a World That Wasn't Designed for You by Jenara Nerenberg, the chapter on autism and its culture offers a powerful and refreshing way of understanding autism, especially in women and girls. Have you ever wondered why so many brilliant, creative, and sensitive people often feel out of place in typical social settings? This summary helps explain that the answer might lie in how our society sees, and often misunderstands, autism. Jenara Nerenberg gently reveals that autism is not a flaw or a limitation, but a different way of experiencing the world. Through this audiobook summary, we learn that people on the autism spectrum are often deeply focused, honest, and full of unique ideas. Isn't it inspiring to see autism not as a disorder, but as a different kind of brilliance? Many people with autism, especially women, are often undiagnosed or misdiagnosed. Why is that? The audiobook summary explores how autism has long been studied mostly in boys, leading to a limited view of how it shows up in other genders. Women and girls often mask their differences. They try hard to fit in, copy social behavior, and avoid standing out. But this can be exhausting and leave them feeling invisible or misunderstood. Wouldn't it be better if we allowed people to be their true selves? This audiobook summary invites us to appreciate the quiet, thoughtful strengths of autistic individuals. Instead of focusing on what they lack, it shifts attention to what they offer: intense focus, creative thinking, loyalty, and deep care for their passions and causes. Jenara also talks about how culture plays a big role in how we view autism. In many societies, there's a strong push to act, think, and communicate in certain normals ways. But what if those norms are too narrow? What if we opened our minds to include different communication styles, sensory needs, and ways of thinking? In this audiobook summary, we learn that autistic people often thrive when their environment is calm, predictable, and respectful. Bright lights, noise, and sudden changes can be overwhelming, but that doesn't mean someone is weak. It simply means their nervous system works in a different way. Could we build spaces that support those needs better? One of the most hopeful parts of this audiobook summary is how it celebrates the culture around autism. Online communities, creative projects, and peer support groups are helping. People on the spectrum connect and share their stories. These spaces allow autistic individuals to feel heard, respected, and valued just as they are. Doesn't everyone deserve that? Jenara encourages families, schools, and workplaces to become more inclusive. She offers gentle advice: listen with care, ask thoughtful questions, and avoid quick judgments. Wouldn't it be wonderful if more people felt safe being themselves? This audiobook summary reminds us that autism is not something to be hidden, it's something to be understood and honored. People on the spectrum can be extraordinary innovators, deep thinkers, and kind friends. All they need is the freedom to express their true selves. In the end, Divergent Mind shows us that autism is not a problem, it's part of the beautiful diversity of human minds. With kindness, patience, and open hearts, we can create a world where everyone, no matter how they think or feel, has a place to shine. Under the radar. In this audiobook summary of Divergent Mind, Thriving in a World That Wasn't Designed for You by Jenara Nerenberg, the chapter Under the Radar gently opens our eyes to how many smart, creative, and sensitive women are often overlooked or misunderstood. Have you ever felt like you don't quite fit in, even though you work hard, care deeply, and want to make a difference? This chapter helps us understand that you are not alone, and that being under the radar is more common than we might think. Many women with conditions like ADHD, autism, high sensitivity, or anxiety often go unnoticed because they don't show the typical signs that society expects. Instead of being loud or disruptive, they might be quiet, thoughtful, or overly responsible. Isn't it surprising how easily that can lead to being misjudged or even ignored? Jenara Nerenberg beautifully explains how many women have learned to mask their true selves. That means they work hard to act normal so they won't stand out or make others uncomfortable. But this takes a lot of energy, doesn't it? Over time, it can lead to burnout, low confidence, and even confusion about one's true identity. In this audiobook summary, we learn that one reason so many women remain under the radar is because medical and psychological studies have often focused on men. As a result, the signs of neurodivergence in women have been missed. But what if we change the way we look at people? What if we start to understand that brains work in many different, but equally valuable, ways? Jenara gently invites us to ask, what if those who go unnoticed are actually the quiet thinkers, deep feelers, and creative minds who have so much to offer? Isn't it time we made space for them to shine? This audiobook summary also talks about how culture and gender expectations shape how we behave. From a young age, girls are often taught to be nice, helpful, and calm. So when a girl is struggling with focus or sensory overload, she might not express it. Instead, she'll try to hide it to avoid bothering anyone. Can you imagine how hard that must be? Jenara offers encouragement to those who feel unseen. She says, "You are not broken, you are simply wired differently." And that's something to be proud of. Wouldn't it feel freeing to know that your sensitivity, deep thinking, or unique energy is actually a strength? This summary reminds us how important it is to have supportive environments, whether at school, at work, or at home. When people feel safe to be themselves, they are more likely to thrive. Isn't that what we all deserve? Jenara also encourages professionals, like teachers, therapists, and doctors, to become more aware of how neurodivergence shows up differently in women. With better understanding, more people can be seen, supported, and celebrated earlier in life. In the end, this audiobook summary gives a message of hope and possibility. It tells us that being under the radar doesn't mean you don't matter. It means that your strengths may just be waiting for the right time and place to bloom. Through kindness, curiosity, and listening, we can all help create a world where quiet voices are heard, gentle hearts are valued, and every brain is seen as beautiful in its own way. Isn't that a future worth working toward? The gift of synesthesia. In this section of Divergent Mind, Thriving in a World That Wasn't Designed for You by Jenara Nerenberg, we are introduced to the fascinating world of synesthesia. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to experience the world in a completely unique way? This chapter explores how people with synesthesia perceive their surroundings differently, often blending senses in ways that most of us can't even imagine. Synesthesia is a condition where the stimulation of one sense triggers an automatic, involuntary experience in another. For example, some people may hear sounds and also see colors or associate numbers with specific tastes. Isn't that incredible? Imagine hearing a piece of music and seeing vibrant colors swirling around you. Wouldn't it be amazing to experience the world with such rich, intertwined sensations? Jenara Nerenberg beautifully explains that synesthesia is not a disorder but a unique trait. Far from being something to be fixed, it is actually a gift that enhances creativity, perception, and even memory. Can you imagine how powerful it must be to experience life in such a multidimensional way? People with synesthesia often find that it enriches their ability to think outside the box, solve problems, and connect ideas in original ways. Through this audiobook summary, we learn that synesthesia has been found in many highly creative individuals, such as artists, musicians, and writers. The condition has even inspired the works of famous composers and painters who could see colors when they heard music. Isn't it inspiring to think that something as simple as a sound can spark a whole new world of creativity? It's like having a personal key to unlock a deeper, more colorful connection with the world. While synesthesia may sound like a rare phenomenon, the truth is that it exists on a spectrum. Some people experience it in subtle ways, while others have more intense experiences. Have you ever found yourself associating certain smells with memories, or maybe you see specific shapes or patterns when you're reading? Those moments might be tiny glimpses into the world of synesthesia. This chapter encourages us to be open to the possibility that our brains might be more interconnected than we think. Isn't it exciting to think about how much potential lies in our sensory experiences? Jenara also helps us understand that synesthesia can often be misunderstood by people who don't experience it. Have you ever felt like others don't quite get the way you see or feel things? It's easy to see how someone might think that a person who hears colors or tastes sounds is imagining things. But scientists know that what they experience is real and meaningful. In this audiobook summary, we learn that society's narrow understanding of what's normal can make it difficult for scientists to fully embrace their gifts. Wouldn't it be wonderful if everyone understood that our unique experiences, whether they are with sensory perception or other traits, are what make us special? The chapter also highlights the importance of embracing and celebrating these differences. Jenara encourages those with synesthesia to view their experiences as assets rather than something to be hidden or cured. Isn't it freeing to think that our differences are actually our strengths? Synesthesia allows people to connect more deeply with art, music, and even nature. It opens up a whole new way of thinking and experiencing the world, which can be deeply enriching. Through this audiobook summary, we discover that embracing synesthesia is about more than just seeing colors when you hear music or associating certain smells with emotions. It's about learning to appreciate the beauty and complexity of human experience in all its forms. Wouldn't it be amazing if we all took a moment to celebrate the unique ways in which we perceive the world? In conclusion, Divergent Mind invites us to rethink how we view sensory experiences and neurological differences. Synesthesia, like many other forms of neurodivergence, challenges us to expand our understanding of the human mind and encourages us to celebrate diversity. Isn't it time we recognize that everyone's mind is capable of amazing things, and that each unique way of experiencing the world brings something valuable to the table? Misophonia and sensory processing disorder. In this section of Divergent Mind, Thriving in a World That Wasn't Designed for You by Jenara Nerenberg, we explore two intriguing conditions, misophonia and sensory processing disorder, SPD. Have you ever been bothered by certain sounds to the point where it feels overwhelming? Or perhaps you've noticed that your senses don't quite process information in the same way as others. This chapter delves into how these conditions affect people's experiences of the world and how they relate to neurodivergence. Misophonia is a condition where certain sounds trigger intense emotional reactions, such as anger or anxiety. It might sound surprising, but for those with misophonia, sounds like chewing, breathing, or even tapping can feel unbearable. Have you ever had a sound that just drove you crazy, even though others didn't seem to notice? For those with misophonia, everyday sounds can become major sources of stress. Isn't it fascinating how the brain can react so strongly to something as simple as a sound? The audiobook summary helps us understand that these reactions are not just annoyances, they are real, involuntary responses that can significantly impact daily life. On the other hand, sensory processing disorder, SPD, affects how the brain processes sensory input. People with SPD may find that their senses are either too heightened or underactive. For example, some might be hypersensitive to light, touch, or sounds, while others may have trouble recognizing or processing sensory information at all. Can you imagine how challenging it must be to feel overwhelmed by sensations that others easily ignore, or to miss sensory cues that others pick up without thinking? This chapter opens our eyes to how the world can feel dramatically different for people with SPD, making simple tasks more difficult than they appear. Both misophonia and SPD highlight the importance of understanding sensory experiences as part of the neurodivergent spectrum. Have you ever stopped to consider how our senses shape the way we interact with the world? For many people, sensory experiences can be a source of discomfort, frustration, or even pain. It's easy to forget how much we rely on our sensory systems to navigate daily life, and this chapter encourages us to approach those with sensory sensitivities with empathy and understanding. What's interesting about misophonia and SPD is that they often go unnoticed or misunderstood. Have you ever tried to explain your discomfort with certain sounds or sensations, only to have others dismiss it as an overreaction? For those with misophonia and SPD, it's not just a matter of preference or sensitivity, it's a neurological difference that affects how their brains process information. The audiobook summary helps us recognize that these conditions aren't just quirks, they are part of the diverse range of human experiences, and understanding them can make a significant difference in creating more inclusive environments. Jenara Nerenberg emphasizes that, like many other neurodivergent traits, misophonia and SPD are often underdiagnosed or misdiagnosed. Isn't it encouraging to think that as awareness grows, more people will be able to seek support and strategies to manage their sensory experiences? The chapter offers insights into coping mechanisms and strategies for people who experience these conditions, such as using noise-canceling headphones, creating quiet spaces, or engaging in sensory exercises to help regulate sensory input. Have you ever considered how different tools or accommodations might help people thrive, even when their sensory experiences are challenging? Nerenberg also encourages society to be more accommodating of sensory sensitivities. Wouldn't it be amazing if everyone could be more understanding of the unique ways in which our brains process information? By creating environments that acknowledge and respect sensory differences, we can make life easier and more enjoyable for people with misophonia and SPD. In conclusion, Divergent Mind challenges us to rethink the way we view sensory experiences and to appreciate the diverse ways in which people interact with the world. Misophonia and SPD may make everyday tasks more difficult, but with understanding and support, individuals with these conditions can learn to navigate the world in their own way. Isn't it empowering to know that by simply being more aware, we can help create a more inclusive world for everyone? The future of neurodiversity. In this section of Divergent Mind, Thriving in a World That Wasn't Designed for You by Jenara Nerenberg, the focus shifts to the future of neurodiversity. Have you ever wondered what the world would look like if neurodivergent individuals were fully understood and supported in all aspects of life? Nerenberg paints a hopeful picture of a future where neurodiversity is embraced and celebrated, where differences in the brain are seen as strengths rather than weaknesses. The future of neurodiversity is about creating a world that accommodates and supports a diverse range of brain types. Have you ever felt like your brain didn't quite fit the mold of traditional expectations? For many neurodivergent people, the challenge lies not in their abilities, but in a world that wasn't designed for them. From workplaces to schools, the systems we rely on often overlook the needs of those who think and process information differently. Imagine a future where workplaces, schools, and social systems are not just inclusive but are actively designed to celebrate the diversity of the human brain. Wouldn't that be empowering? One key aspect of this future is recognizing the value that neurodivergent individuals bring to the table. Isn't it exciting to think that the unique ways in which neurodivergent brains work could become a powerful advantage in the workforce and beyond? Nerenberg emphasizes that many traits of neurodivergence, such as heightened creativity, problem-solving skills, and the ability to think outside the box, are exactly what modern society needs to thrive. Just think about how much innovation and progress could emerge if these skills were nurtured and put to good use in various industries and professions. The audiobook summary also highlights the importance of making accommodations for neurodivergent individuals, not as an afterthought but as a fundamental part of design. Have you ever considered how something as simple as flexible work hours or sensory-friendly spaces could make a huge difference for someone with a neurodivergent condition? As awareness of neurodiversity grows, more and more companies and institutions are beginning to implement practices that accommodate the needs of neurodivergent individuals, such as offering quiet workspaces or providing mental health support. In the future, these types of accommodations could become the norm, helping individuals thrive in environments where they once struggled. Another important point is the need for education and awareness. Have you ever encountered a situation where a lack of understanding about neurodivergence led to frustration or confusion? Nerenberg stresses that as society becomes more educated about neurodiversity, people will begin to better understand how to interact with and support those who are neurodivergent. In the future, we may see schools that teach neurodiversity as part of their core curriculum, helping children learn about different brain types from an early age. How might this shift in perspective improve social dynamics and create a more compassionate, inclusive world? The future of neurodiversity is also about embracing self-advocacy. Nerenberg encourages neurodivergent individuals to embrace their unique ways of thinking and processing information. Can you imagine a world where neurodivergent individuals are empowered to express their needs and desires openly, without fear of judgment or misunderstanding? By fostering self-advocacy, individuals can take control of their own lives and careers, ensuring that their voices are heard and their needs are met. In conclusion, Nerenberg's vision for the future of neurodiversity is one of inclusion, celebration, and empowerment. The audiobook summary encourages us to think about a world where neurodivergent individuals are not just accommodated but are actively embraced for their unique contributions. Isn't it exciting to think that with growing awareness, more people will have the opportunity to thrive in environments that appreciate their distinct talents and perspectives? The future of neurodiversity is bright, and with continued effort and understanding, we can help create a world where everyone, regardless of how their brain works, can flourish. Conclusion. In the conclusion of Divergent Mind, Thriving in a World That Wasn't Designed for You by Jenara Nerenberg, the author wraps up her insightful exploration into neurodiversity, focusing on how we can create a more inclusive world for those with diverse brain types. Have you ever considered how society could be more supportive of individuals who think differently? Nerenberg suggests that by recognizing the unique strengths of neurodivergent people, we can create a more vibrant, innovative world that benefits everyone. Throughout the audiobook summary, Nerenberg introduces us to various aspects of neurodivergence, from conditions like autism, ADHD, and synesthesia, to the ways in which highly sensitive people experience the world. She reminds us that the diverse ways in which people process the world around them are not deficiencies but different approaches that can contribute greatly to society. Could it be that what some might see as challenges are, in fact, hidden strengths waiting to be embraced? The audiobook summary encourages us to see neurodivergence not as something to be fixed, but as an inherent part of who someone is. Isn't it wonderful to think that by embracing these differences, we can foster environments where people are accepted for who they are, without feeling pressure to conform to societal expectations? Nerenberg's conclusion calls for a shift in perspective, a call to action for both individuals and society to celebrate the rich diversity of human minds. Nerenberg also emphasizes the importance of self-awareness and self-advocacy. Have you ever felt that your needs weren't understood or that you were not being supported in the way you needed? By understanding and advocating for one's own neurodivergence, individuals can build a more empowered sense of self. This self-advocacy can lead to better relationships, more fulfilling careers, and overall well-being. How much more could we achieve if every person was encouraged to be their true, authentic self, without fear of judgment or misunderstanding? The book concludes by focusing on the future of neurodiversity. Nerenberg envisions a future where neurodivergent individuals are not just accommodated, but their unique abilities are celebrated and utilized to their full potential. Imagine a world where neurodivergent people are empowered to use their creative and innovative thinking to solve problems, generate new ideas, and make meaningful contributions to society. Isn't that the kind of world we should strive for? In this vision, workplaces, schools, and communities would be designed with neurodiversity in mind. Could a more inclusive environment help individuals thrive, regardless of their brain type? Nerenberg suggests that when society adapts to meet the needs of neurodivergent individuals, everyone benefits, creating a more dynamic and inclusive world. She also calls for greater awareness and education about neurodiversity so that future generations can grow up with a better understanding of different ways of thinking and processing the world. Ultimately, the conclusion of Divergent Mind is an invitation to reflect on how we can all contribute to building a society that embraces and values neurodiversity. How can you play a role in creating a more inclusive world for neurodivergent individuals? Whether it's through supporting policies that promote inclusivity, educating others about neurodivergence, or simply offering understanding and empathy to those who think differently, we all have a part to play in this movement. In summary, Jenara Nerenberg's Divergent Mind challenges us to rethink how we perceive and engage with neurodivergent individuals. It offers a hopeful and inspiring vision of a future where differences in the brain are not only accepted but celebrated. Could the world be a better place if we all embraced neurodiversity and allowed everyone to thrive in a way that works for them? By listening to the messages in this audiobook, we can take steps toward making that vision a reality, one that will benefit not just neurodivergent individuals, but society as a whole.